deadly tornado sweeping through one of those Super Tuesday states, Tennessee.
At least 2 tornadoes touched down, including one that caused heavy damage near downtown Nashville. We're learning that at least 7 people are now confirmed dead in the metro area. Emergency crews are dealing with about 40 collapsed buildings. CBS News meteorologist and climate specialist Jeff Berardelli shows us what happened.
It's a scene of utter destruction in metro Nashville this morning.
The cement front of the AutoZone actually collapsed onto itself.
Our Nashville station, WTVF, saw the damage firsthand. Crushed cars filled the streets, and Whit Laxton's car was smashed by a fallen sign.
I think I'm lucky to be alive, and I've got a lot to process.
The tornado filled the sky as it churned across Tennessee's state capital just before 1 a.m. Lightning and power surges were visible, leaving tens of thousands without electricity and many people without roofs over their heads. Firefighters and police are already searching the debris for trapped victims.
You can see behind me, this house is completely decimated.
CBS Sunday Morning producer Roman Fieser lives in Nashville's Rosebank neighborhood. His home is okay, but his neighbors say a tree fell through their bedroom. Downed trees are everywhere, with some buildings reduced to mangled heaps of metal. The windows were blown out of this business.
When you're inside, it was one thing, but to walk out here now and see everything, it's bad.
So the storm went through right in the middle of the night, the most dangerous time for it to happen right across downtown Nashville, as you can see. Judging by the damage, it is not easy to collapse buildings. It had to be an EF3 or EF4, but we don't have confirmation yet.
Power flash right there. The tornado is coming. All right, Dan. There it is. Go inside. No, get inside, folks. This is moving by the Channel 5 area as we speak. This is moving by News Channel 5. Dan, are you getting this right now? Good. All right, folks, you need to head to your safe place. This tornado is on the ground. It is moving right by Channel 5.
Tonight, a national spotlight on Tennessee.
They're just great people. It's a great state.
President Trump there consoling communities grieving the loss of 24 lives and approving federal aid. This week's deadly twisters leveled at least 60 miles of land.
Tornado came through and got us.
Now, a fresh reminder, this is the volunteer state.
It's only 10 o'clock in the morning and already look how many people are lined up on this street all the way down the block in just one neighborhood. And this is just the beginning.
Storm survivor Nikki Avila, so grateful.
Having these volunteers here is life-changing.
Volunteers from near and far.
It's pretty surreal, and realizing these are people's lives.
A cavalry of help lifting up Nashville.
What brings you out?
We want to help people get their lives all back turned around.
From the Tennessee Titans on the debris field to telethons with major recording superstars. A beautiful sensation in the Music City. Human harmony.
Jim and Donna Eaton are two of the 25 people killed in the storm. The tornado hit their Mount Juliet home, destroying it. News Channel 5's Eric Hild has been talking to people close to the couple, joins us live from Mount Juliet tonight. Eric, how are friends remembering the couple?
Emily, people here at First Baptist Church Mount Juliet tell me that Jim and Donna Eaton touched the lives of absolutely everybody they met. The pastor here says they were kind, they were thoughtful, and it's difficult to think about them now being gone. The sign outside of First Baptist Church of Mount Juliet,
the church suffered a direct hit,
is a sign of what's inside.
All of it's been really devastated.
Tuesday morning's tornado crumbled walls, ripped nails out of the building, and it turned the door of the library into a window.
And there's probably not a place on our campus that hasn't been touched.
But Pastor Philip Dunn told me his church's biggest loss wasn't its building.
So it's hard to think about life without them.
It was Jim and Donna Eaton.
Most of the folks have been around Mount Juliet for a long time, loved and respected the Eatons.
The two were killed when the tornado blew through their Mount Juliet neighborhood, tearing apart their Catalpa Avenue home, leaving behind just a pile of rubble.
When we heard that we could get in touch with them, we were always preparing ourselves in that moment for the worst, but you don't want to believe that that's true.
Police said the couple, who had been married for 58 years, were found side by side on their mattress.
They lived their lives together. They worshiped together. Their love was a genuine love.
And a love they shared with people across Wilson County.
In a world that sometimes isn't so kind, they were very kind. If they had survived the tornado, they would have been among the other hundreds that showed up on Tuesday and Wednesday to clean this campus.
So even though Jim and Donna Eaton won't be alongside church members as they continue to clean up, the couple will certainly be in their hearts.
We're going to rebuild a building, but you just can't, you just can't have another Eaton just out there.
9 tornadoes ripped through our state this week, one on the ground for more than 60 miles. Now, President Trump is promising federal aid to all of the affected neighborhoods. Of course, when the president travels, dozens of White House staff, Secret Service, and media follow along. Today, News Channel 5's Rory Johnston had a rare opportunity to travel with the National Press Corps in the president's motorcade as he visited Putnam County. Rory's live in Cookeville to share that experience with us. And Rory, I imagine it was an exciting and very emotional day.
Yeah, definitely exciting, Emily. Also chaotic and at times a little bit confusing. We were under strict orders from the White House to not reveal our locations or travel routes here in Putnam County until now. A lot of logistics, a lot of Secret Service too. It's pretty impressive. And I believe this is the president coming in right now, right over our shoulder. We were quickly corralled into a media van, and we followed the president's motorcade about 15 miles outside Cookeville.
Everybody keep following Holly.
It was a neighborhood devastated by the tornado. 8 people died here alone. Governor Bill Lee and the First Lady joined the president, along with Senators Marsha Blackburn and Lamar Alexander and local officials.
Tremendous heart. Already you see people rebuilding.
Press, back to the cars, please.
Minutes later, the motorcade was on the move again, back into the heart of Cookeville, where hundreds lined the streets to perhaps get a once-in-a-lifetime glimpse of the President of the United States. From the gym balcony of the Jefferson Avenue Church of Christ, we watched as the president greeted volunteers and storm victims. The gym is now a makeshift emergency shelter. Minutes later, we're moved downstairs, where I finally had a chance to ask President Trump, Mr. President, what's your impression of how the people have reacted and
Incredible.
responded?
The people are incredible. These folks, what they've done with the first responding and all of the care, emergency, fire, every aspect of it.
The motorcade itself is probably, Mike, I would say 30 cars at least. A few miles later, we were back where we started, at Cookeville High School, and within minutes, President Trump was on his way back to Nashville.
Right now, did you feel it? A 5.5 magnitude earthquake rocking Baja California. The effects felt right here in parts of the South Bay. The quake struck near the Sonora border last night, just before 8 o'clock. It's about 170 miles from San Diego. Several 10 News viewers called us right after feeling that quake.
Like a just kind of a little jiggle back and forth, kind of a hula. I think I mentioned to somebody it felt like a little hula dance thing.
Seguirlo filmando, así se lo mandamos al ministro, bro. Seguirlo.
4723, acérquense a la dependencia por Valle.
Atento al jefe.
La Politécnica. Bueno, llegamos hacia al frente del incendio acá, en el sector del Pinar. Se está quemando todo, literalmente todo se está quemando. Esto es el infierno, esto sí que es el infierno. Allá de fondo podemos ver Esquel.
Ay, Dios mío, lo que es esto, ¿qué pasó, Dios?
Déjalo que lo quede.
Mira,
ya se fue.
Mira la calle ahí se va.
Don't do that.
Well, the coronavirus has now spread to nearly 100 countries and territories. There are more than 105,000 cases on 6 continents. At least 3,500 people have died. Italy has the highest death toll outside China, and tonight is imposing massive quarantines on tens of millions of people. Charlie D'Agata is there.
If Italy is anything to go by, the United States better buckle up. New numbers out tonight. 5,883 cases, a jump of more than 1,200 new cases with 233 deaths overall. Today, the Vatican announced that Pope Francis will deliver his next 2 public addresses via video instead of his usual appearances at St. Peter's Square. And it comes after the Vatican announced its first case. Considering it sits smack dab in the middle of a country that is seeing the worst outbreak in Europe, perhaps it was just a matter of time before it eventually reached the Vatican. Politicians haven't been immune either. Opposition leader Nicola Zingaretti saying, "It's here, coronavirus has got me too. I'll be isolating myself at home." Ordered to head home too, tens of thousands of American students studying abroad here, like Eric Mead from Maryland.
So if it were up to you, you'd be like, no way, I'm staying.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, I want to stay, and I don't think that it's necessary for me to go home.
But as the crisis deepens and the numbers stack up, people here are becoming less inclined to leave it all to chance. Charlie D'Agata, CBS News, Rome.
Tonight, a state of emergency is in effect for New York State. It's because of the coronavirus outbreak. And what that designation means is the state can now get more funding to fight the virus.
The number of cases shot up again today. There are now 76 confirmed cases in New York State, most of them in Westchester County. There are 11 cases in New York City. New Jersey has 4 presumptive cases. And while no one in Connecticut has tested positive for the virus at this point, 2 people who work at hospitals there were diagnosed with coronavirus. Both patients live in Westchester.
And also right now, a Delta flight bringing 73 SUNY students back from Italy just landed at JFK Airport. Students are going to enter a 14-day quarantine period, either self-quarantined or placed in dorms. And at this point, we don't know if any of those students have been tested yet.
And our team is in place covering the coronavirus outbreak for you. Let's go right to News 4's Anjali Hemphill, who's at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital. Anjali?
Well, the number of cases surged again today, and many of those Westchester County patients are believed to be linked to that New Rochelle man who works as a lawyer in Manhattan. He is still in serious condition here at Columbia Presbyterian, and now several others are hospitalized as well.
Good afternoon.
Governor Andrew Cuomo has declared a state of emergency in New York as dozens of new cases of coronavirus are determined each day, with testing happening around the clock.
Contain, 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 get a lead, chase it down, get a lead, chase it down, find a positive, quarantine.
On Saturday, 11 new cases confirmed in New York City, one of the patients now hospitalized in Queens. And the state of Connecticut announced another connection to a confirmed case of COVID-19, a second healthcare worker who lives in Westchester County but worked at a hospital in Fairfield County.
This physician saw a limited number of patients at Bridgeport Hospital. At that time, the physician displayed no symptoms associated with COVID-19. The physician contact here during that time does not constitute an exposure.
Governor Cuomo also announcing plans to protect those most vulnerable, like senior citizens and the immune compromised.
Nursing homes, senior living situations in that immediate area of New Rochelle will suspend outside visitors. Again, the nursing homes are the most problematic setting for us with this disease, so we are hyper cautious.
Meanwhile, state officials are still insisting the public health risk is low. They believe 80% of people who become infected will get better. And for now, the only thing worse than the virus is the fear and anxiety. Price gouging on things like cleaning supplies has also been a huge problem during all of this. The governor announcing today that police are conducting investigations and any business found in violation could lose their license. We're live tonight in Washington Heights. Anjali Hemphill, News 4, New York.
Anjali, thank you. And today, Brooklyn and Queens, as you mentioned, reported their first cases of coronavirus. News 4's Miles Miller is at a hospital in Far Rockaway, Queens, where one of those patients is in isolation now. Miles.
That's right. The first case of coronavirus hitting Queens today. We got the confirmation from the mayor's office. We are told that patient who is here is in his 30s. We're told he's an Uber driver on Long Island and is in an isolation room here at the hospital, although it is unclear when he had his last passenger inside that Uber. What we do know at this time from Uber is that the passengers were alerted about this. All the passengers who were inside that car. We also know that they have a dedicated team working closely with public health officials who are working to figure out just when the last passengers were in his vehicle, and so that they are able to abide by that quarantine. We know that patient also came to the hospital on Tuesday, started having flu-like symptoms, and then came back yesterday, and that is when he was put into that isolation room. We know that 40 people at this hospital, we're talking about healthcare workers here, are also observing that quarantine, 14-day quarantine, as the CDC has suggested. We have a statement from the hospital we want to provide for you. They said, quote, "We've been actively preparing for this, and we will continue to follow all standard infection control guidelines." As we said, there are cases in Brooklyn as well. We are told that 3 new Brooklyn residents have confirmed cases. 2 women in their 60s and 70s who returned from a trip to Egypt, as well as a man in his 30s in Brooklyn as well. He returned from a trip to Italy. We're going to show you live pictures right now from JFK Airport. That is a plane that just landed. It's carrying CUNY students from study abroad from places like China, places like Italy, Japan, South Korea, and Iran, all places that are at the center of this outbreak and places where CUNY officials wanted to get them back to the United States. We are told that they will be doing that mandatory 14-day quarantine. It is unclear where that'll happen, if it'll be all in a big group or if it'll be that voluntary quarantine inside of homes. We're looking to get that information tonight. We're in Far Rockaway.
83-year-old Pope Francis, who has been suffering from a cold for nearly a week now, has tested negative for the coronavirus. The Vatican did not comment on the diagnosis, but last week said the Pope was feeling slightly unwell. Even with his cold, Pope Francis prayed the Angelus on Sunday and greeted people during the few meetings he had last week, including at the general audience. However, for the first time, the Pope did not attend his spiritual exercises out of Rome. They were scheduled this week from Sunday to Friday. Instead, he's participating from his home at Casa Santa Marta, inside the Vatican. By resting in this way, he's hoping to make a full recovery and pick up his normal schedule next week. In Italy, out of more than 2,000 infected, 52 have died from the disease, while 149 have been cured.
North Korea conducted its first missile launch of the year this afternoon, firing 2 projectiles towards the East Sea. Its most recent launch was 95 days ago. Our Defense Ministry correspondent Kim Ji-yeon has the details.
South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff has confirmed that North Korea fired 2 short-range ballistic missiles from Wonsan towards the East Sea on Monday afternoon at around 12:37 p.m. The Joint Chiefs said the maximum flight altitude was some 35 kilometers and the flight distance was around 240 kilometers. It said they were fired some 20 seconds apart from transporter erector launchers. The South Korean military is currently monitoring the situation while maintaining a defense posture in case of additional launches, and is closely working with the U.S. to verify more information about this latest launch. The Joint Chiefs called for the North to refrain from engaging in such actions that do not help in lowering military tensions on the Korean peninsula. That message was reiterated by Cheongwade, which convened an emergency meeting of security-related ministers Monday afternoon, presided over by National Security Director Chung Eui-yong to discuss the missile launch.